Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you what I feel like is the ultimate drugstore starter kit. So I have those of you in mind who are really natural when it comes to makeup, or if you're somebody who really wants to get into makeup but you don't really know where to start, this is a really great basic kit that's going to get you an everyday look. As you guys know, I have tried so many products from the drugstore, so these really are top notch. I feel like I would recommend all these products to anybody who wants a natural look or who's starting out in makeup, like I said before. So I've put together my drugstore starter kit. I put this in a little bubble wrap from my Huda Beauty order that I got the other day. So we're just gonna get into it. I have certain products that I chose for this because I feel like they're foolproof, and I feel like they're also really versatile depending on what the person needs. So let's just get right into it. Some of these steps might be extra, and if you are somebody who wouldn't use one of these products, you can just kind of omit it from the kit, no worries. But I tried to gather products that would solve as many problems as possible. So first things first, I have the Mario Badescu facial spray with aloe. Now this is available at Ulta. It is drugstore pricing, so that's why I'm including it in here. When it comes to a beginner's drugstore starter kit or whatever, I don't feel like you need to go ham with like primer. I feel like it's a good time to get a good skincare routine down and just make sure that your skin is nice and prepped before makeup, and that will be a good enough primer for starters. You can get into primer later, but I wouldn't overwhelm your skin or yourself with too many steps. So this is just a facial spray. It has aloe, herbs, and rose water like it says, so it's just going to really refresh the skin. I like to do something like this in a more simple routine, and it's just going to kind of prep things. So I'm just going to go ahead and spritz that all over the face. This also doubles as a setting spray as well. It's not going to make your makeup last super long because it is just like rose water basically, but it is going to help melt the makeup into the skin, which is really key for the end. So that smells so good. All right, we're going to get into foundation next. So when I was thinking of a good foundation that I could recommend to a lot of people, this is the first one that came to mind. This is the Neutrogena Hydra Boost Hydrating Tint. This is a very hydrating, dewy, kind of tinted moisturizer type of a product. I love the packaging on here as well, and I feel like it's a product that would work across so many different preferences as well as age range. So if you're somebody who's just getting into makeup and you are maybe in your 30s, I feel like you would still enjoy something like this. It's not too intimidating, it's very forgiving. And then if you're someone who is, I don't know, in your teens or in middle school starting out, this is also a great product to start out with. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this. I use the shade Nude 40. And I'm just going to start to apply this all over the skin. I like to take the applicator and just kind of dot it all over the skin. If you're somebody who has pretty good skin and you don't feel like you need to even out the tone all over the face, like you'll notice I have redness and discoloration. So for me, I really like to kind of even that out. If you don't need to do that, you don't need to put this on. So just customize it to whatever you feel like you would need. There are no rules when it comes to that. So I'm just going to kind of apply that all over the skin. Now, when I was thinking of this video also, I felt like I should mention my current favorite drugstore tools set. This is an incredible set. It's from Real Techniques. I will have it linked down below. You get 4 brushes and a sponge, and in this set, I believe it's called like the Everyday Essentials set. This brush right here is great for foundation, so I'm just going to go ahead and take that initially to help blend out the product all over the skin. This is going to be super lightweight. It's also super hydrating since the hyaluronic acid is in there, and it's not going to look super makeup-y, which I feel like a lot of people who either haven't worn makeup or aren't super familiar with makeup, I feel like a lot of people fear looking like they have too much makeup on or a cake face or whatever. This is not going to do that to you at all. So you'll notice that it just kind of evened out the skin tone. I still have some discoloration showing through and still some blemishes, which I will take care of in a minute. If I ever feel like I want just a bit extra, like on this side of the face, I feel like I'm just having some issues, I will just go ahead and layer up a little bit. And that's what I'm kind of talking about when I was saying I was choosing products that are going to be versatile. This is something that you can build up if you want to. So if you have a good skin day, wear less. If your skin's struggling a little bit more in certain areas, just build it up on those areas alone. And again, that will help kind of avoid any cake face kind of a thing, you know? Okay, I feel like that helped a lot to sheer everything out. Okay, so next we're gonna do concealer. Again, this is something that needs to be very personalized to you. I chose a formula that I feel like, again, is gonna work across all types of skin types and skin tones. There's a great shade range in this concealer. It's the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. When it comes to concealer, I always choose to purchase 2 different shades. One that's gonna match my skin tone perfectly, and then one that's about 1 shade lighter that I can use to brighten up any areas that are a little bit dark, like underneath the eyes. So for me, I use the shade Fair for underneath the eyes, And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of add a little bit of this just in the areas that I feel like need a little bit of brightening. So right there. I don't always find it necessary to do like the under eye triangle thing or, you know, highlight down the center of the face, especially for every day, and especially if you're just starting out in makeup. You don't need to overwhelm yourself with things like that. So next I'm taking the shade Light, which is the next lightest shade or the next deepest shade or whatever. And I'm using this to just make sure that any blemishes that are showing through are a bit more concealed. I also like to take a bit of this color and go around the nose because a lot of us tend to have a little bit of redness around the nose. But again, just look at your own face and just decide off of what exactly you have to deal with. If you don't have blemishes to cover, you might not need to pick up 2 shades, but it's always good to have it on hand because you just never know. So I'm going to take this Real Techniques sponge, which actually comes in that set I was just talking about. And I like to blend out the blemishes first, or the darker shade of concealer first, just to make sure that I'm not accidentally highlighting anything by taking the lighter concealer and then moving on to blemishes, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and press this into the skin. And for an everyday look, I honestly don't mind if my skin still looks like skin. I feel like that adds to that effect. It's kind of the point of an everyday look or a no makeup look. This concealer is definitely not the most full coverage at the drugstore. If you're somebody who has quite a bit of acne, I would probably recommend using the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer. It just has a bit more of a thick consistency and it's going to blend over those blemishes a lot better than the Maybelline Fit Me. This one still works if you have like just a couple blemishes, but if you're somebody like me who usually gets quite a bit of breakouts, you might want to check that one out too. I'll have it linked down below as another option if you want. Just gonna make sure all of that is pressed into the skin. Things are looking good to me. Okay, so this is the basics of the complexion and I feel like that looks really good. It's not too overwhelming, it's not too overpowering. I still look like myself. So the next thing we're gonna do is set the face with powder. I've tried so many powders and this is my personal favorite right now at the drugstore. And it's also one of the most affordable that I own. So this is from Wet n Wild. It's the Photo Focus Translucent Powder. And I'm going to go ahead and take that. And I'm actually going to take my damp sponge. I'm going to dip into the powder. I'm going to kind of press it into my hand first to get rid of the excess. And I'm actually going to set the face with this. I usually use like a few powder brushes when I do my makeup, but I'm trying to show you guys how I would use just this one toolkit, because when you're just starting out, like I feel like tools are very, very important, but you're probably not going to invest in like a full-on brush set when you're just learning to do makeup. So I'm just trying to teach you how to use what is already in this Real Techniques kit that I'm recommending because you can really get a lot of use out of it. So I'm just using the powder in light layers and I'm making sure to tap off the extra in my hand. And I like to set the entire face. I feel like that helps keep the makeup locked in all day, especially since I do have quite a bit of discoloration and stuff like that. I like to make sure to powder everything just to make sure the coverage doesn't come off throughout the day. If you're somebody who has drier skin or you're just oily in the T-zone, you can choose to just set in the T-zone. But you really want to make sure to kind of set anywhere that you applied concealer, just to make sure those areas don't come uncovered. So for me, that's underneath the eyes, and I had quite a few spots on the face that I want to make sure stay all day. So I'm just going to kind of go all over the face with this. The nice thing about using a sponge when you do this is the dampness in the sponge. You want to make sure that the sponge is wet and then wring it out really well. So it's just damp, not sopping wet. And that dampness will actually help to melt the powder into the skin and it makes it look super natural. So it's a good way to set the face with powder. If you are paranoid about looking powdery, this will do the trick. And I'm also going to make sure to set the eyelids. I put a little bit of the extra concealer on the eyelids. I like to do that to cancel out any discoloration there because I do have some pretty obvious like purpley veins on my eyelids. So I like to make sure to conceal and powder that area as well. Okay, the complexion is nice and evened out. It still looks like myself, like I said before. You can still see some things through the skin, which is totally good and normal. I think that's a great way to ease yourself into wearing makeup. Especially if you're not used to wearing things on the face. It's kind of a good way to get used to just a more even toned version of what you're used to seeing if you normally don't wear things on the face. So we're gonna move on to bronzer, and this is definitely the best bronzer at the drugstore. I have a lot of favorites from the drugstore, but if I were to recommend one to a beginner, it would be this. It's the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. The shade that I use is just bronzer. I'm going to take this on the fluffy brush that comes in that Real Techniques set, and I'm going to give that a good swirl. And with this bronzer, I'm just wanting to warm up the perimeters of the face. So I like to add it to the the forehead, kind of halfway into the hairline so it looks more natural. And then I like to kind of dust some on the cheeks a little bit. This bronzer smells so good. I love it. I'm also going to take a little bit of that bronzer and just kind of dust it down the sides of the nose to give it a little bit more shape since we kind of washed it out with the foundation and concealer. Okay, I feel like that's enough bronzer for me for like an everyday natural makeup kind of a situation. I'm going to take the brush that looks like this from the Real Techniques set. This is the Deluxe Crease Brush. And I'm going to go ahead and dip into bronzer. And I'm going to use this brush to apply the bronzer on the eyelid. I always recommend when people are starting out with any kind of makeup to just use the bronzer, like use your face products, bronzer, blush, highlighter as your eye products to begin, because then you can kind of get a foolproof eyeshadow look without getting intimidated by actual eyeshadow. Because when you're just starting out, I mean, there's a lot of things that can overwhelm you, so just kind of get used to the product. And this way also you get a nice makeup look that flows seamlessly together, where your face products kind of match what's on the eyes, and it just will look really, really flattering. So I usually like to do this on an everyday basis. I'm going to take that same brush and I'm going to run a little bit on the lower lash line. I personally always like to put a little bit of bronzer or some sort of a brown eyeshadow underneath the lower lash line just to kind of give that some shape again. But just play around with whatever you feel like works best for you and your face. Sometimes it takes a minute to figure out, but for me, this is what I always like to do. Okay, so it's very subtle, but for me, that's enough. I'm gonna go ahead and do highlighter next. I actually like to do highlighter before blush. This is definitely the highlighter that I would recommend for anyone starting out. It's the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. This is definitely one that I would recommend for more fair to light skin tones. Essence makes another one that's a little bit deeper that I would recommend for medium to deep skin tones. But this formula is very, very forgiving. It's a very affordable price as well. It's like $3 or $4 or something like that. I'm taking this on the Real Techniques setting brush, and I'm going to use that to highlight the high points of the face. So I like to take it right here in a C shape, and you really can't mess up with this. It's not glittery at all. It's just going to kind of give your skin a little bit of a glow. I like to apply some down the center of the face a bit on the cupid's bow, and I like to smile and kind of bring it on the apples of the cheeks. I just feel like that helps make my entire face look a little bit more healthy. And then I'll take what's left and kind of brush it right here so that when I turn my head, it looks like I'm wearing more cream products than I am. Okay, I'm actually gonna go in with my sponge and just kind of press the highlighter into the skin even more. It's gonna help things look extra natural, and it will help blend in any harsh lines if you are a beginner. But again, you really can't mess this one up. It always looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply some blush. I chose the Maybelline Fit Me blush. This is my personal favorite shade. I haven't tried them all, I guess, but out of the ones I have tried from this shade range, I love this one. I feel like it would be very flattering on so many people. If you are not somebody who thinks you like blush or you're scared to look like a clown, I totally understand. However, I would highly recommend giving it a try first before you think you're gonna look terrible, because it really does liven up the skin, and it's one step in makeup that I can't live without. I feel like after kind of creating that blank canvas, it's really important to add back in some color, some life back into the face. So you could find something that is a little bit closer to like a beigey color in a blush, or something a little bit more peachy toned might look a little more natural. Just play around with it if you're not comfortable using a pink. But for me, wait, is this my favorite one? Hold on, I need to check. I think this might not be it. Well, I'm glad I checked that because that was not the right shade. So here they are next to each other. I love this one the most. I still love this one. This is the shade 25 Pink. It's a very soft, perfect pink for every day. But a brighter pink would look pretty if you're somebody who's not scared of blush. Bright pinks always, always, always look good. I'm gonna actually take the same brush that I was using for the bronzer because this is just what we have to use out of this particular set. And I'm just gonna smile, and I'm gonna start to apply that to the apples of the cheeks. Oh, there's a piece of hair in my face. Okay, so the apples of the cheeks are just like when you smile, it's like the fattiest part of the face. That's usually where you want to kind of focus the blush. And you don't need that much, but a little bit does really make a difference in my opinion. So I just like to build that up. See, it just adds a little bit of pink. I don't look like a clown. I'm gonna take the same brush that we were using for eyeshadow, and I actually like to dip that in the blush and kind of just pop it right here, because again, it just ties everything together and it makes you look really healthy, in my opinion. I'm just gonna put a little bit right here too. You don't need that much, but doesn't that look fresh? I think so. I'm gonna take my sponge one more time and just press around the cheek area to make sure everything is nice and blended. For me, I need to fill in my brows. I don't have that many brow hairs, so I like to use the Maybelline Brow Ultra Slim Pencil. This is the best brow pencil that I've personally found at the drugstore. The fine tip is really helpful for creating natural looking brows. If you're somebody who already has pretty full brows, just go ahead and brush them up with a brow gel. You can also use a clear mascara. This one is the NYX Control Freak Brow Gel. I'm going to be using this later, but if you feel like you already have pretty decent brows, you don't need to worry about filling them in too much. You could just brush them up with a brow gel of some sort. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in my brows. If you're curious, I'm using the shade Medium Brown. And I like to kind of be a little bit more careful in this inner portion of the brow. Just kind of take like flicking motions to kind of mimic some brow hairs in that area because I don't have them otherwise. Brows frame the face. I feel like they make such a difference for me personally. Like, I can't leave the house without brows or mascara because those really do drastically change my face. Okay, so now that brows are on, we're gonna move into mascara. I chose this mascara for this particular drugstore video because I just feel like, again, it's going to work for a lot of people. This is the CoverGirl Lash Blast Volume Mascara. For me personally and my lashes, I love the L'Oreal Lash Paradise Mascara. It's very voluminous. It makes your lashes look massive and I love it. But for so many people, I know that when you're first starting out or just on an everyday basis, you don't want any clumpiness. You just want something that's going to be reliable. It's not going to smudge or flake. And that for me is this one. So I felt like this would be a good one to recommend if you're just starting out because you can build it up if you want to be really full, but you can also keep it to where it could be a really natural lash day. So I'm just gonna go ahead and brush this on the top lashes. And I personally don't worry about eyeliner. I feel like if you just take a second to make sure that the mascara is kind of getting at the roots of the lashes, it will create a little bit of an eyeliner for you at the base of your lashes. All right, I'm just applying that to the top lashes first, and I am getting a little bit on the eyelid on accident. That's okay, I will show you how to remove that. I always like to apply a little bit to the lower lashes, not too much, but I personally like to wear it. If you don't like to wear mascara on the lower lashes, you don't have to. I think a nice light layer is fresh on the lower lashes though. I accidentally got some on the lower lash line too. That's all right. I usually like to wipe off any foundation that got on the lips. There's honestly not much today. When it comes to a lip color, if you're just starting out, this might be enough for you. So in that case, just go in with like a clear lip balm and you'd be good to go. I felt like I wanted to recommend the Honest Beauty Tinted Lip Balms because it's something that won't feel makeup-y and it's also something that will wear off really nicely. It's just really foolproof and effortless. So I'm going to use the shade Summer Melon. They have a lot of different shades in this. This one is a little bit more pink, so if you're not somebody who likes much on the lips, you might want to choose another color or just go with a clear balm. You could also wear a gloss if you want to, but I love this formula. Okay, I'm just going to make sure to dust off the mascara marks. All right, this is where I like to step back and assess the situation. I usually add a bit more bronzer, which I'm going to do again. So I'm going to take that Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer and just add a bit more to the hairline. And then I also want to add a bit to the neck. If you ever feel like your neck is not matching as well as you want it to, just bring bronzer down and it will kind of unify everything. I always like to add a little bit more blush. Blush is the first thing to fade throughout the day, so I like to pop on a little more at the end of my makeup look just to make sure that some color stays there throughout the day. Also, if you want to, you could take your finger, since there isn't really a small brush, and just kind of pop some highlighter in the inner corner and also underneath the brow. That will just brighten up the eyes even more. And then we're gonna go ahead and set the face again just to make sure that everything looks fresh. So I'm going back into my Mario Badescu facial spray. I'm not shy with facial sprays, I love it. I'm just gonna kind of let that dry a little bit. And then once it is almost dry, I love to take my beauty sponge again. This is from Real Techniques. It's the one I've been using this whole time. And I'm just gonna go ahead and lightly press the spray into the skin just a little bit more. And again, it's just gonna keep it looking really, really nice and fresh. Oh, you know what? I will say, hold on. I'm gonna grab one more product that I forgot to mention. If you have more oily skin, you must pick up the Rimmel Stay Matte Transparent Powder. It is so incredible. I'm just gonna kind of dust off the highlighter brush. But this is such an amazing powder for setting the T-zone and making sure that things stay locked in place all day. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of this powder and I like to apply it to any area where I don't want shine. So for me, it's just the T-zone. I get the most oily in the T-zone, so just gonna kind of press it there, around the nose, on the tip of the nose, and also my smile lines. All right, last but not least, we are going to set the brows with the NYX Control Freak Brow Gel. You could also use a tinted brow gel. I've been recently trying out the one from NYX. It's the tinted brow mascara, and that one's really nice, but if you're just a beginner, this might be a better place to start. And then once you kind of get familiar with your own brows, you could move into something tinted. All right, you guys, so that completes this makeup look. This is definitely what I would recommend picking up for anybody starting out in makeup, or if you're just somebody who needs to like refresh your makeup bag, or you're looking for a good drugstore makeup routine that's gonna be reliable and really good for every day. This is perfect. Like, this is my favorite kind of a look. All of these products are my tried and true. I highly recommend each and every one of them. So I hope you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about any of these products. I will have everything listed and linked down below as well to make sure that it's easy for you guys to find. But yeah, this is definitely what I would say would work on so many different people, and it's a great way to practice starting out in makeup and just getting used to enhancing what you've already got on the face. And then, you know, once you get comfortable with the basics, you can move into eyeshadow palettes and lipstick, and you can play with contouring. There's just so much more, but I feel like this is a really good place to start. So yeah, I'm really happy with how everything turned out. I love this final look. If you're new here, hi, my name is Allie, and I would love for you to join the family. You can do so by hitting the subscribe button, and if you're already a subscriber but you want to be notified on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, click on the bell after you subscribe and you'll get a notification every single time I post. That's it from me today. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Love you. Bye!